Good day, welcome to Music Motors and welcome to the 2020 Mitsubishi L200. Now this one is a Barbarian X, the very tippy top of the top with a few options on top of the top. Base prices realistically for an L200 are around about £22,000 plus VAT. But go for one of these, a Barbarian X, 36 plus VAT. Loads of technology included within that, and then you can have a few options like paint, the rear tonneau load cover, bits and pieces like that. Now the L200 has been around for quite a while. It's been around for more generations than I can remember even seeing on the road. Really, it's just been a historically monumental vehicle in the UK, which sadly Mitsubishi announced as of today that I'm filming this, that slowly they're going to start pulling out of the UK, and maybe we're not going to see another L200 after this. Sad times. But the L200 is a workhorse, it is a utility which over the years became more capable, more filled with technology, and more capable of dealing with the lifestyle part of your life. No longer was it just a rugged, usable pickup truck. Mitsubishi very quickly turned the L200 into an everyday vehicle. Now outside is where the L200's had the biggest leap from my point of view. I've become very fond of the previous generations and all the generations before that, including all the animal editions and stuff like that. But there was quite a distinctive upgrade as they went into this new generation. It was a design aesthetic that we were kind of used to because we'd seen it in things like the Eclipse Cross, we'd seen it in the Shogun Sport, but how was it going to do when they brought it over into the L200? Well, it's really good. Up front, whilst it is very angular, it is very blunt in the way the design is, it looks fantastic. It looks really sporty, but yet not so sporty it couldn't go off-road. The fact that the arch is kind of cut down means that when you are off-road, you don't worry about catching stuff, you don't worry about overhangs, visibility is very good. The side profile, well, that hasn't changed too much. It's still an L200 from that side on. Very distinguished, very good looking, very Mitsubishi. Back end, slight update, again, more chrome, different tail lights, L200 badging still there. Realistically, the biggest change I guess I'm trying to say is up front. That front aesthetic is very, very different to previous generations, and it looks really, really good. Now this car's finished in Sunflare Orange, which is an option, but is a lovely, lovely, lovely colour. Now it's a colour which, whilst hasn't been used under this name before, has been used in Mitsubishi many times before. I was talking to a friend who's got a Lancer, he's got one in this same colour, but it's called something different. It's a colour which is standout but not garish. It's a colour which, it fits in everywhere in this colour. Now to be fair, a completely black or a completely white one would do just as good job, but as it goes for having brighter colours, this is a fantastic bright colour. Now the only problem from the outside with it being a Barbarian X is the diamond cut alloys. Not that they look bad, they look amazing. And not that they don't ride well, because they do really well on the road. But that when it comes to going off-road, you're going to be a little bit more concerned about scraping them. Running boards down the side are going to protect most of the bodywork in comparison to fixing doors and stuff like that, are quite cheap to repair in comparison. But those alloys are going to be chipped and damaged so easily. I'd be worried to take it off-road. Maybe you want to have some nice wheels that you're going to use during the summer where you don't end up going down any muddy tracks, and swap to some bigger non-alloys for the winter. Being a Barbarian X, the outside is a little bit more pimped up, a little bit more chrome, a little bit more styling. But from the bottom end, the L200 does still look very new. It does look very modern, but as soon as you do get up to this Barbarian X level, it does just have that next level of luxury on the outside. Real world economy test time. Finding out what economy you can get in the real world. Again, charity distribution this week, so it's a lot of around town stuff, and it's a really good town economy test. So find out how comfortable it is, what the frugality is, and how much stuff I can fit in the back of it after this short sped up sequence of driving around town. result was 29.7 to the gallon, which for around town and lots of start and stop, pretty decent. Comfort wise, these seats are very, very comfortable, and when it's colder, heated steering wheel, really good even when you get up in the morning. Visibility is very good. Internal audio quality exceptionally good, especially for a commercial pickup, and it doesn't get loud at any point. Obviously I didn't put loads of stuff in the back, but you know, a few boxes, could have taken a lot more. Really easy to load stuff in and out. The lock-in rear tonneau cover, really, really handy. Generally just pretty impressed. It's very capable, and I definitely didn't put it through a proper commercial test, but as an around town thing goes, it excelled pretty well. Now when you get inside is where Mitsubishi have really upped their game a lot. Now on the face of it, you probably don't think they've done it too much, because if you've had a previous generation L200, you've probably thought, well, not that much has changed really. Have the dials really changed? Is the infotainment different? Yes and yes. Some of the switchgear is the same as before, and it's kind of a no-brainer. It's something that they're going to use across the platform, but everything else has had its slight little tweaks, its slight little changes, and the technology itself is still fantastic. A surround view camera, a standard on a Barbarian X. You press a button and you can see everything around you, be it that you're trying to park and you don't want to hit the car in front, be it that you're getting close to a curb and you just don't want to clip it. It's all there. Now you can connect up to Apple CarPlay. The standard sound system is really, really good, and everything is quite literally at your fingertips. Everything. Folding electric mirrors as standard on a pickup truck which doesn't cost the earth is nice. So competitive vehicles do have folding, but for some reason it always has to be done off a button. Mitsubishi are one of the few who have it so that as you lock it, it just does it. Nissan with the Navara, it's done on a button. The older Ranger was, I'm not too sure about the new Ranger, and the D-Max is on a button. These are all vehicles which cost the same, but yet Mitsubishi have managed to just squeeze a bit more out of it in tech. When it comes to your driving position, the driver's seat, very, very comfortable. This lovely kind of pattern going on, a mix of suede and leather. These Barbarian X seats are really, really comfortable, and they're very, very holding. This is the biggest criticism I tend to get on pickup trucks, is that, cool, you've created a sport truck, but I fall out of the seats in corners. Now, the L200, to be fair, you don't. Visibility is very, very good from the driver's seat. Everything is literally at your fingertips. Headroom's pretty good. As I say, I've got pretty big hair and I'm not really struggling too much. Your passenger room is pretty decent. Rear leg room, reasonably good, but it pretty much depends on how tall the front passengers are. When you get up to speed, I mean, right now I'm doing 60 miles an hour. It's comfortable, soaks up the bumps. It's not noisy. Sound system's good if you ever want to drown out people in the back. Low capacity wise, so this can take just over a ton of payload weight in that rear bed. You can tow 3.5 ton as well, which, so whilst this is a smaller engine, it kind of hasn't been knocked down. The interior quality does feel quite long lasting, quite robust, and it's on that border of luxurious and utility. It's it's everything that you need, but at the same point, it's not so much stuff that it then ends up ramping up the price loads and loads and loads. It's a really nice fine line between the two. The interior is just a really nice place. Fuel economy test, but on the motorway, because let's face it, an L200 will spend a substantial amount of time on the motorway within reason. If not 50% of its life, depending where you live, and amount. So it's important to know what the potential fuel economy returns are. Now, I don't have much weight in this at all, but what I found is, regardless of how much weight you put in the back, the fuel economy doesn't seem to change too much, unless we're talking about towing 3.5 ton. So this is a test of motorway-based things, so how comfortable, how quiet, and what's the frugality. That was 41.3 miles to the gallon. Now I appreciate it was a mix of speed limit, 70, 60 and 50, but it was hilly. It was slowing down for different bits and pieces and speeding back up again. It was a load of different driving styles within motorway. It was really comfortable, quite quiet. You've got enough nip to get round people when you have to, but obviously it isn't hugely quick. But as motorway goes, it's easy. Visibility is good, it's not too wide for the lanes, even though a lot of that was roadworks. So pretty impressed from a motorway point of view. Now power, performance, obviously this is a smaller engine than the previous generation. It's a 2.2 litre 4-cylinder diesel. It produces 150 PS, 400 newton meters of torque, and it tops out about 106 miles an hour through this auto box, which is incredibly responsive. To be honest, I don't actually notice the difference between this and the previous generation. Maybe when you're towing 3.5 tons, you will, but for everything else, you don't. When it comes to the drive, it's just such an incredibly big update on the previous version. Whilst it's not completely car-like, it's considerably more car-like than before. The steering is nicely weighted, the brakes give you some feedback, and you can genuinely throw this around back roads. Not that it's meant to do that, per se, but it deals with it pretty easily. Economy-wise, the WLTP is about 29.9 or 29.1 miles per gallon. And realistically, you'll see that just around town. And if you do your actual combined run on a motorway and other bits, you're more likely to see about 35, 36, and just motorway up to 40, depending how you drive, what sort of traffic, what sort of speed. It's engineered in a way which now it's not tiring to drive long distances, and it doesn't rattle you to pieces. The suspension's nice. It deals with UK roads really well, but equally when you get it onto some dirt or onto some grass, you don't really notice a difference. It just gets on and does its job. Obviously you've got the adaptive all-wheel drive system down here, and at a twist of a knob, you're there. It's doing exactly what you want it to do. So whilst it doesn't have some of the fancy capabilities, like an electric handbrake, and it doesn't have electronically adjusted dampeners, they've done that because this one, with options on the road, costs about £43,000. £43,000 on the road for a truck which is as much tech as this, which looks as cool as this, that's as capable as this is, that's really a no-brainer. And when it comes to monthly terms, especially when you're looking from a business point of view, these are a very good business investment. Outside, I think Mitsubishi have updated the aesthetics to an extent that they've wiped some of the competition out. Some of the competition desperately needs aesthetic updates, and they're only doing little bits. Well, Mitsubishi have done a foul swoop and completely updated the front end of it and done slight bits to the back, because realistically, how much can you do to the back? How much can you do to the side without putting flare extensions on? It's the front end which is where the character is. I've done a really good job of that. The interior, comfortable, quiet, robust. I feel like it's going to last quite a few years. Everything's at your fingertips. And then performance and economy, yes, a smaller engine, but it's not a total wipeout. You don't notice it. Genuinely, I remember doing the launch and thinking this is going to be terrible. They've got a smaller engine, it's going to have a slower 0 to 60 time. You didn't notice it. I went back to back from an old L200, or not old, but the previous generation L200, straight into this new one. And the acceleration and everything felt the same. What didn't feel the same was the steering. What didn't feel the same was the ride. And what didn't feel the same was the quality of build. This feels much better quality. This feels built in a lot more of a quality way than previous generations. I've seen comments on my videos, owners saying, look, mine's fallen apart after 130,000 miles. I don't think this is going to be that. I think Mitsubishi have taken on board all the failings in their previous generations, and each time they get better and better. And this is a really good effort. So Mitsubishi, with their 2020 L200, they've done a pretty good job.